Allah. You know what it is? أَلَمْ يَعْلَمْ بِأَنَّ اللَّهَ يَرَى. Allah asks in the Quran, does he not know that Allah watches him, that God watches everything that he does? Wallahi, if we put this in our hearts, our life would be so different. Not even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, sometimes there's some things that if my parents, if my father is watching me, I wouldn't do. وَلِلَّهِ الْمَثَلُ الْأَعْلَى, to Allah is the exalted example. If we know that Allah is watching us, things will be very different. A lot of the things that we do wrong, we would not be doing. A lot of the things that we do right, we'll be doing much better, and a lot more of them. Yeah, and one of the students of Imam Ahmad came to him, and as Imam Ahmad is walking to the masjid, he sees a lot of people surrounding the student. And he asked them, what happened? What is so special? He said, you know what? Last night, after Isha, I started praying the Qiyam. And I started with Surah Al-Fatiha and Surah Al-Baqarah, the beginning of the Quran. And right before Fajr, I read the entire Quran. And everybody's saying, MashaAllah, you read the entire Quran in one night? Imam Ahmad said, I have one question to ask you, one favor to ask you. He said, what? He said, I want you, he's trying to make a point, you read it way too fast. You read it way too fast. You didn't reflect on what you read. So Imam Ahmad said, you know what, I want you when you read it tonight to think that me, I'm sitting next to you, your Imam, your teacher. Imagine if you're reading the Quran and the Imam is sitting next to you. Of course you're going to be more careful and more meaningful, and you recite it a little bit more different way and more carefully. And he came back after Fajr and said, Wallahi Imam, I tried to read and say the Qiyam last night assuming that you were sitting next to me. Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal, that great leader, he said, I couldn't finish one juz. He said, I want you to go tonight and make Qiyam and assume that the Prophet ﷺ is sitting next to you. He came back the next morning, he said, Wallahi, I started one surah and I could not even finish one surah. He said, now I want you to make Qiyam tonight and think, but really think, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is watching you. He said, Wallahi Imam, I started with one ayah and I could not finish it the entire night. The entire night. Because now we know that meaning that Allah is watching us. So now the fourth point is Satan is going to throw all those temptations in front of us in this world, and things that we can do and things that we can go away and where I'm strong and I have this power and I have this authority and I can abuse it and I can say what I want and do what I want. But to remember that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala watches us. And the Prophet ﷺ gives us this example, this scenario, that this lady might come to you and the temptation might come to you in one way or the other. And you remember that Allah, I'm mindful that you're watching over me, so I won't take that way. I won't do it. So the first one is what? Help me out, brothers.
Youth.
Huh?
Youth.
The youth in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now that we're youth, we need the resting areas, which are the masjid, the love of the masjid. Now that we come to the masjid, we're going to meet a lot of brothers and sisters. So what do? Love them for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Shaitan is not going to be a bystander. He's going to say, this is not too good. So he's going to what? Draw some temptation, a woman, a this, a that comes in a position that is compromising, and you say, I fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Dunya is going to come to you. This world, materialistic things are going to come. It doesn't matter whether it's haram or halal. No, you say, I'm mindful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the meaning of taqwa. Now that all of this is happening, a lot of us say, it's very easy to say, I love you for the sake of Allah. Brother, I love you for the sake of Allah. Brother, jazakallah. Sister, jazakallah. You're doing very good. You're doing this. But now comes the moment of test. When that brother or that sister needs you, are you going to be there for them? So the Prophet ﷺ tells us something now. A person that gives with their right hand, but they're not doing it for showing off. Nowadays, it's so funny. They say, give charity, and our organization is a non-profit, so it's tax refund. It doesn't matter whether it's tax refundable or not. It doesn't matter if they put your name up or not. I've been to a lot of fundraisers. And there's brothers. A brother comes up, I'll give $100,000 under one condition. You put my father's name up there. I will donate this, but you need to put this, this, this. You have to name it after me and my uncle and my family and my this and that. We don't want to talk about people's intentions, but are you getting my point? The drift that I'm getting with? That you're willing to give, you're willing to help, you're willing to aid. But what? For the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. To the point that your right hand gives, and your left hand doesn't even see what the right hand gives. That you're really doing it so sincerely that it doesn't matter if people see it or not. That you're willing to give with the right hand, even the left hand doesn't see it. Zayn al-Abidin, one of the grandchildren of the sons Ali ibn Abi Talib, from Ahl al-Bayt, one of the greatest imams ever. He used to do something that was so amazing. You know what, 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning when all of us are sleeping? This imam, after he does the qiyam every morning, imagine the grandchild and great-great-grandchild of the Prophet ﷺ and Ali ibn Abi Talib, you know what he used to do? He used to go around the city and in his shoulders carry bags and bags of food that he cooked overnight and put in the doorsteps of the poor people. Every single night. And the poor people will wake up every morning and they find the food right in front of them. Right in front of them, and they don't know where it came from. And do you know when they found out? They found out the day he died. Because of 2 things. Because the poor people woke up this morning and there was no food in front of their doorstep. And that was the morning that he died. And when they went to bury him, they found very dark markings in his shoulders. And that is the bag that he used to carry their food in. Because it was so heavy, so many sacks and bags that he was carrying that it marked his shoulder. That is when they found out. So we as Muslims need to start doing things for the community, helping people, regardless of whether we get recognition or not. And the thing about us Muslims is, yes, we do to our community, but also we do to other communities. We talked about a few things that we can do last week. There are people in correctional facilities that need our help and our guidance. There's a lot of organizations here, even locally. 4 Oaks, they have so many branches here. You know what it's filled with? Orphans. And we as Muslims, we know the greatness and the reward in being there for orphan people. And we talk about it, but we have orphans right across from us that we can stop every day if we want and just rub and help them in one way or the other. We have different charities and ways of helping. A lot of us, and a lot of people think when we talk about donations or sadaqah, that it's money. A lot of us think sadaqah means what? Means money. And that is not true. Money is one way of proving it. But there's a lot of other ways. It's the way you give for the sake of Allah. Giving could be in the form of money. It could be in the form of a word. And there are verses in the Quran that justify and explain that. Even the word of advice is a form of a sadaqah. Encouraging people is a form of a sadaqah. If you have a strength in a certain area, you have a business, share that business and wealth with the other people. If you have a certain knowledge and a certain science, give that science and blessing and share it with the community. Whatever your expertise is, but give. Don't just hold back to yourself and expect everything for money, but give back to the community. And wallahi, there's more blessing in that. We talked about that a few weeks ago, but it's something that needs to be part of our attitude. Sometimes maybe it's something as simple as cooking. In a lot of events, if you want more people, we know it. You have food, you have a potluck dinner, oh, the masjid will be full, I guarantee it. Some of us know how to cook, some of us know how to invite, some of us have social skills, some of us know how to work on the internet and can build the website that we need, some of us can go to different organizations and help in one way or the other. We can volunteer 1 hour a week or 2 hours a week, and we can do miracles in the community. And so each and every one of us needs to find something that we can do to help the community. Okay, now we've covered, that was the 5th one, right? No. The 6th one. Let's go back and as we're reviewing them, just to make sure we haven't missed one, and we'll keep adding. So the first one we said is a young person. Okay? Again, this is not exactly the order of the hadith, but I'm trying to put it in a way so that we can remember it easily. So the first one is a youth, a person that's growing in a pious way, putting things in perspective. Now that they're growing in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they need the resting area, which is the love of the masjid. They love the masjid, always coming to the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now that they love the masjid, they're coming to the masjid, they're going to meet Allah. The sister is going to meet sisters, brother is going to meet brothers. So they what? They love them for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now that they love for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, shaitan is not going to be a bystander. He's going to say, he's going to throw in what into the mix? A temptation. Again, we can even say the hadith, specifically the wordings of the hadith in which the sinner of the woman coming with in a temptation way, or if the other scholars are also right in the sense that if some form of temptation comes, and that's an example of a temptation that comes, but we have to have that taqwa, we have to have that reinforcement that we always are mindful of Allah and fearful of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then after that we move into the next step, which was we have to prove that brotherhood, we have to prove that sisterhood by charity, by giving something, by sharing something from the knowledge, from the wisdom, from the time, from the expertise, from the wealth that we have, no matter how big or how little it is.